Hello, good morning, good afternoon, Ashley. Welcome to my little show. So nice to have you.
Thank you for having me, Lucy. I'm so excited to join you this morning.
This has become a best part of my week. Definitely the best way to start off a Friday morning. But for those who do not know you, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yes, so I am Dr. Ashley Adams, and
Whoop, whoop.
we can talk a little bit about that in a minute. I am the director of legal operations at Contentful. I've been at Contentful for about 5 years now. Prior to that, I was at Nissan North America for 8 years and Assurian for 3. I have a very wide background between HR and legal, so that's also another interesting topic that we could talk about.
You know what? I do want to talk about that. Okay, first of all, what made you pursue a doctorate? Well, you're working full time. I mean, there's that's busy.
So
Things are busy. So tell us a little bit about that, kind of the balance, the decision, and how do you think it's going to fit into the
yeah.
career?
So I got my master's back in 2015 in organizational leadership. At that time, I was in HR. I was in talent management full time, and I always said to myself, I want to continue this education. I'm a lifelong learner, and
Mm.
so 2 years ago in 2023, the opportunity presented itself through the university I got my master's with. It was an accelerated doctorate program, so 2 years. So I didn't have to give up 5 years of my life to
Right.
do this. It was
That's
exciting.
that's a good deal. Efficient. Love
Very
it.
efficient, which I love. And you do your dissertation and your coursework at the same time. Now, granted, working a full time job and leading a legal ops team and building things out, it is not for the faint of heart. I will tell you that. But the reason I wanted to do it is I have a passion for people and leadership, and I think even with the role I'm in, or if I ever transition back into HR, the education and the being able to lead and to teach others to lead goes across no matter where you sit in the org. And so the cool thing is I do get to work on some people stuff, in my current
Yeah.
role, and so I get a little bit of both. And yeah, that is the reason I pursued it.
I love it. I love it. It's so it's interesting because it's all about the people. Everything's about the people. It doesn't matter what you're building, selling, doing, driving, working. It doesn't matter. It all comes down to the people. And the fact that you become an expert and a professional and understanding how to work with people, that's got to be an enabler in any job function. Obviously legal ops, where we're always trying to influence change and manage change and all of that. So congratulations on this big
Thank you.
milestone.
Thank
That
you.
is super exciting. So let's talk about your day job for a
Yes.
bit. Legal operations, and we were just chatting a little bit before we went live about the conferences and the things, and maybe let's talk a little bit about like what would be your advice for legal ops, maybe somebody early on in their profession, and kind of some of the conferences. But naming names or not, feel free, whatever. But what would be some your advice to them if they were starting to attend some of these maybe bigger conferences? How to get the most out of them?
I would say, to get the most out of the conferences, check in with your GC or your CLO well in advance of attending the conference. If you're not aligned with what they hope that you learn from this conference, and it's always helpful to maybe share, the agenda if it's available, or some of the content that's planned with them, and have that discussion so that when you get there, you've got a little bit of a roadmap on how to navigate the sessions, which is always helpful. If you're flying solo and you're not sure and you don't have the conversation, think about the things that you're trying to build and what you're trying to do in your legal department, and balance those sessions around that. I will say, these conferences can be vendor heavy. So if you're a first time goer to these conferences, don't get overwhelmed with all the new shiny things that come at you. To just be aware of that. But these conferences are really great for somebody new to the space. It's a great networking opportunity. It's a great learning opportunity. And there are several out there that have merit with their content.
Yeah, very good. And I mean, such good tips. I think, definitely don't get overexcited with the tech, but it's a great sampler, right? You can just get a good sampling. And then not getting overwhelmed by the new and shiny. So speaking of new and shiny, let's talk a little bit about your experiences with good old contracting automation. You're heading up legal ops, and then there's this little special focus under legal ops that people like to sometimes throw in to the mix. Like, could you fix contracting? such a mess. So you have some experience in this story. Let's hear some war stories. Let's hear some tips, and then we'll get to, of course, what's going on in today's market in CLM. But let's hear your experiences thus far.
So we rolled out our CLM about a year ago, actually, and it has been
that too.
Yes. It is live. It is functioning. You know, and I will say, like, it's technology, and with any piece of technology, you have to understand that it is not going to solve all of your problems. It is not meant to, and it's not designed to. They have a product to sell, and you have to be willing to accept the product as it is. And there may be some workarounds that perhaps you don't like. We have a few, I will say, in our current process. But by and large, our sales team is happy with it because it lives in Salesforce, and it is in the world that they operate in.
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing go to your state, go to where they live.
Go where they live. Yes, that is my biggest tip. Understand your stakeholder groups and go where they live and make it easy for them. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, you also have to balance your own go-to-market legal team because they're working in it too. They're just on the different side of it. And so sometimes their voices are going to be louder than the stakeholders because it's their day-to-day job. And so you have to balance this is what I want the product to do versus this is what the product can do. And so right now we're living in the world of, at least my day-to-day is, how to improve it.
Yep.
What features do we want from our vendor versus what they can deliver on. Mm-hmm. And, the balance of, process, like, do our processes still make sense? From the time we rolled it out a year ago to now, are there things that we can change? Are there enablement materials, for example, to make it easier for not only our go-to-market team, but our sales folks? So that's really the world I'm living in right now. And it's continuous. So what I would say about CLM is it is not we've went live and we've turned it on. Oh no, it is a day-to-day, forever kind of job that you will have for as long as you sit in this role.
Okay, can I just tell everybody that I did not tell you to say that? I didn't pay you because we beat the drum, two big things. We'll talk about the first one in a second too, the getting ready. What was the readiness before you launched the system? Talk about that because you mentioned already enablement, but this continuous ongoing nurturing and improvement. I always say that the launch is a big, exciting day. It's like a ticker tape parade. It's great. It's like a beautiful wedding party. It's amazing. And then the marriage sets in.
The work
starts. We say that all the time. Again, it's stuff that like people don't like to hear. They we all choose to hear what we want to hear, and that's normal. That's human nature. Nobody, and we can't overstate it enough. We're like, I am telling you, you are birthing a program. Mm-hmm. You think you're just launching some tech, which you are technically, but you have now created a program. And let's talk about the difference between a project and a program. And what does it mean to operate a contracting program? So you're spot on. And I just hope people listen and they do understand that this is not a once and done. It's not a boop, download, go live, yay. Okay, let's though go back a second to pre-implementation.
Yes.
Again, feeding people broccoli and salad when they're all hungry, want cake and ice cream. And we're like, nope. You're gonna eat your broccoli and your salad. So let's talk a little bit about what did you do? How did you approach getting both the go-to-market legal team ready and then the sales, everything? What did you do in advance? What was the plan?
First, before you ever go and buy a piece of technology, whether it's CLM or otherwise, you need to understand your process and how it works. You need to get it documented.
Hey, did I send you the check? What do you want? Because yes, please say it again for those in the back.
Yes, you need to get your process identified. You need to get it mapped, and you need to get it on paper or in Miro or whatever tool that you use. And it can't just be the legal process. It has to be all of the things that sit around legal. Deal desk, for example. What's their process? How does that feed in? Especially if legal touches SOs or other forms of service orders. What's the sales process? How do they communicate with legal today, for example, to get their contract reviewed? Where do they live? Do they live in Salesforce? Do they live in Google? Do they live in Slack? Do they live in email? What's the intake portion of that? And you've got to get it document it, and you've got to get people to understand it, and you've got to walk it through. And then you've got to point, you got to put the holes in it to say, okay, this is what's working. We like this. This is what's not. Okay, cool. Then you start having the conversations with your CLM vendors. That way, when you come into this, you know who your stakeholders are. You've got your process identified. You know where your documents are. That's usually a big one that people start with. Our documents are here, there, and everywhere. We need a repository. It's usually the easiest thing to tackle versus like pre-signature contracting. Which is what we tackled first because it's the most logical.
Yep.
And then when you walk into those conversations, you're just better prepared with the vendors, and you can set expectations sooner. Okay, here's our process. How is the technology going to make our process more efficient and easier for all of these stakeholders?
Yep.
That's first and foremost. And then when you get into it, when you're dealing with your legal team, I mean, it's a lot of white glove handholding. I won't, it's concierge service, truly. I mean, you've got to be with them and understand their day to day. And sometimes that means sitting through a negotiation and watching them redline a document, for example.
Actually, I can't even tell you. I mean, again, I'm gonna just let you run the show because you are for people to hear it from somebody who's lived it and breathed it. I mean, that's why I even run the business I do, right? That's my entire mantra is like live it and breathe it. I've been there, and you're speaking from a fresher perspective, more recent, right? I did this a bazillion years ago. Now we do for other companies, but you said something also really, really just super important about this. The point of the process mapping, I think, is twofold. One is most people can't even articulate, right? They just actually can't. They're like, well, and then sometimes and that's when you're like, okay, we have a problem. We need to write this down. So one is just aligning everybody so they understand how it's actually working, not how they think it should work. But the next stage is it does give you that opportunity, as you said, when you're poking the holes, is to go, hey, we can actually do this better, right? I mean, isn't the goal when you're looking for tech, right, is you want to be able to apply tech to a better future,
yes,
right? Not a current. So process mapping, the time is worth its weight in gold. And then you take it to the vendors, and now you're comparing apples to apples. That's another thing, right? You can't change your mind about all the things that sound good when you see these different vendor demos, because you almost gonna forget your process and through the demo, right? It's like going shopping when you're hungry. You're like, oh yeah, that looks good, and that yum, and I want some of this, right? So how do you
tell you the things you want to hear? That's the other thing.
Of course. So how do you stick to that prioritization? Like, how tight are you during the demos, and maybe get some tips for people because they're watching demos. We've had clients come to us after seeing 13, I think maybe was a top real number, where they were like, they actually watched them and they were completely overwhelmed. So what would be your tips of like doing these demos?
You need to RFP it first and foremost.
Okay.
Send out an RFP package, a very extensive one. Happy to send people templates afterwards if they want to connect with me. I've got a really strong template for an RFP, and I would go to 3 to 4 vendors. That's it.
Beautiful.
Keep it small. Have a scorecard. Get people on the demo review panel that are going to also be in your stakeholder group, but also give you feedback. Be your eyes and ears, because sometimes it's easy to throw your own bias into this. Like, oh, I really like that vendor because of such and such. You need people who are going to be honest. And so that scorecard process as a part of these demos really helps keep people objective, because they're just grading, kind of down the list of here's what we've identified are important requirements. Yes or no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is.
Let me ask you, I'm gonna do something super self-serving. It's my show, and I'm the sponsor, so I can't get kicked off. But we're gonna do something. We're doing something new. We're trying something new. We're actually super excited because we already have locked in our first set of vendors to do this. We're going to do our own version of demo days, not calling it demo days. We're calling it our selection showcase showdown, because I'm old and I used to watch The Price is Right. People don't know about it, but it's okay. But we're doing this super, I think, cool thing. We're going to do the regular kind of demo days model, where for the first hour, 3 vendors, 20 minutes each, facilitated their demos. I will be on, my colleague right hand will be on, and we're going to, poke, we'll get them ready. Like, these are going to be facilitated demos. Then we politely escort the solution providers out of the virtual room. I mean, look, I'm not going to have bouncers or anything, but we're going to be like, hey, thank you. We'll be in touch after, and then we're going to stay on for another about 45 minutes up to an hour, whoever wants to stay on from our attendees. And we're going to go through our proprietary checklist. This is what we would do with our consulting engagements where we realize people, they either can't afford, they don't have the time. That's okay. Our mission is just to help them walk through exactly what you're saying. So it's a scorecard with 3 columns, same one we use when we do these 3, selections among 3 vendors. But I'd love to hear your thoughts kind of from the inside. It's like, is that a good way to get to these in-house buyers because they're so overwhelmed? And if they could just have anything to guide them, I think in the process, it's overwhelming.
Honestly, I would have loved to have had that. In all the years I've been doing this and going through these demos and creating things on my own.
Right.
This is going to take some of the guesswork out of it with demo days. Like I can hop on and I can, for whatever amount of time I can watch and absorb if I'm looking for a CLM vendor. And it makes it easier for me because then if I really like a vendor, I can take them back.
You can follow up.
I can follow up, take them back into my own world, and we can work through a different process versus I've gone through 13 different demos and I don't remember which way is up and who does what.
They all kind of start to look the same. So we're going to try to give them, look, you're going to have a little scorecard. At least you could walk away and trigger your own memory of like why you did like that. Because in a demo day, oftentimes there's so much push, and people, maybe are taking notes as they're watching. But this gives them an apples to apples way to do it. I hope. I mean, everything's an experiment, but it's the first time we're doing it. We have first one set for April 30th. The next one will be June 4th, and we have 2 already committed, and we're about to lock in the 3rd vendor for that as well. I think they're getting. It's interesting because I hear such positive feedback from them because they're like, yes, we would rather have that. We don't want buyers who aren't ready. We don't want buyers coming to us with a misunderstanding of what we're selling and what we're buying. What they were trying to buy, and so I feel like there's a bit of a pendulum swinging also from the sales motion, the sales side, where the really thoughtful, long game providers are going, this is good. This is a nice, almost lead qualifier for them because they know people are there for a purpose and they know that if they hear from them, there's a reason behind it. So
it's great. You get an educated buyer. That's the other
goal.
Going in educated versus going in blind makes a huge difference for everybody. Not only the vendor, but for the person on the other side.
Yeah, 100%. And there's still such a moat of knowledge. And to that, let's talk a little bit about the latest crop of tech. We've got I see a friend that's watching who has a lot of hands-on experience. And Jen, we can't really communicate through this thing. So I can't drop comments or else I'll lose eyesight of Ashley and it becomes awkward. But, somebody who's lived and breathed in-house live, legal ops live, implemented CLM systems, went out and said, I got to build my own. I've been asked a million times, I can't believe it. Why aren't you doing one? Why you should do it? I'm like, yeah, because there aren't enough in the market. I should do one. But right now, there is obviously a big change in motion. Last 3+ years or so, I'm going to throw out the 2-letter word, AI. So you started this journey pre-explosion of AI. AI's been around, blah, blah, blah. I don't need the technologist to remind me of that. I came from a tech company. Yeah. I know AI's been around for 20 years. I'm not talking about that, but we're talking about the explosion, right, that we know happened a couple of years ago. You were already well into your CLM journey, and now you are probably, I'm not going to lead the witness, but you're probably getting a little bit of do we have enough AI? Do we need AI? Do we use this native AI in the system? Do we add on AI? So tell us where your thoughts are. What are the tips on AI and CLM, over CLM, with CLM, part of CLM?
Whether it's AI, CLM, e-billing, e-discovery, pick your poison of technology, whatever it is, none of these things will work unless you have your house in order. You have clean data, you have processes identified, you have knowledge documented, and especially with AI, because you've got to give it context, you've got to give it the why, and it has to be pretty deep experiential knowledge that you're passing along to this in order to get the outcomes that you're looking for, whether it's an agent, whether it's, custom prompting, whatever it might be. So if your house isn't in order, it's not going to work in the first place. It's going to amplify bad process or bad, knowledge management, if you will. So that's my first, take on the whole thing. I would also say you have to be smart about what you go tackle first. So, you've got all these tools in the market that all claim they can do this, that, and the other. And there's one in particular that just hit the market that I will not name, because I'm not, I don't want to call out any particular tool. It's everywhere. We've all been talking about it. It's blown up legal tech about a month ago. We all saw the emails.
the announcements. Is this one that has more advisors and customers potentially?
Yes, potentially.
Again, a great. I just spoke to the CEO, and hey, that's a brilliant way to get out of stealth mode too. I've seen all the different variations, but I think we all know. Okay,
we all know. My team's excited about it. I'm excited about it, but also we're balancing that with there are things we need to do foundationally to get our house in order, and that could mean not layering AI in at all. That could mean automating processes and workflows between our current systems. AI is not the answer to everything, but I do think you have to be smart about where it can benefit you. And here's the bigger piece. You're a legal team. You touch other teams in the company very cross-functionally. If you're not doing something that is going to make your stakeholders be like, wow, yes, this made my life easier because they added this agent or they automated this process, and you get them talking about what you're doing, and you're only doing it to the benefit of your own department, you're really missing the boat.
Yeah, I think that's such an important part too, and we see it all the time. Our contracting is a mess. We need to fix contracting. And actually, what prompted my second book, my shorter book, is Contracting Simplified, is about enterprise transformation, because I kept hearing the same thing over and over, and they're always like a labor of love. Let me just get this out on paper. Maybe this will help somebody. And it's really stepping back and understanding when you have contracting problems, is it inside your law department? You may not need a CLM for that. And that's always part of the issue. What do you think you're buying? What do you think you need? Why do you think that's the thing you're trying to, what are you trying to solve? All the millions of questions versus we have an enterprise problem. Contracts are flowing incorrectly, inefficiently. The right stakeholders aren't getting involved. We're losing data and insights and information. Like there's such different problem statements we hear. The pain is similar, by the way.
Yes.
But the problem statement and the thing people are trying to tackle. And I think that's really one of the big differentiators when you think about, let's call them traditional CLM solutions, right? It's the end-to-end life of a contract across an enterprise. Very different solution than a redlining tool.
Yes, 100%.
Right? And I think that's right now there's nice kind of buckets starting to form. They don't have good taxonomy. Nobody does. It's all being called everything. We even I see people get tripped up between showing up to a webinar that is about how to negotiate terms for an AI piece of technology that your enterprise is trying to buy. And it's like, hey, commercial lawyers, here's a new, provision you need to negotiate, like data protection, or HIPAA was new, whatever. And they're like, oh, aren't we talking about the tools? Where are the AI tools? We're like, no, that's a different webinar. That's where it's like AI for contracting versus AI in contracting. And it has become complete chaos out there. But great tips.
The point I made a minute ago, if you're not meeting your legal team where they work, it's not going to work either.
Yeah. Can we shout out to again, not to lead the witness. I'm saying lawyers aren't going to get out of Word.
No.
Through my career, yes, I'm still a little baby spring chicken, but I don't think that will happen. I've been saying this for 20 years. I'm like, please just do whatever you're going to do in Word, whatever tech buttons you're going to create, which Microsoft maybe didn't make easy, but I feel like we're still going to
pick up your phone and suddenly start redlining on their phone. Mobile application means nothing. Don't offer it to me.
Exactly. Don't show it to me in a demo. Or definitely don't start a demo with every day your GC will log into our dashboard. Next.
Not gonna happen.
Or the commercial lawyer. It's okay. Well, see, they'll start every day by popping open, seeing what's on their task list. I'm like, you're done. Get out. It doesn't work. Yeah. So we want people to go where they are. You said a couple of times, get your house in order.
Yes.
I love that. What should people do? What does that mean? Where do they start? So let's play out this typical, contracting's a mess. We don't know how many we get. We can't find our signed contracts. Well, how do you get your house in order? What do you do?
So start with where you know things are going first. So are your contracts coming in email? That's a good place to start. Do you have a shared inbox that they may be going to once they're signed, for example? That's one place. Are your attorneys putting them on a drive of some sort, whether that's SharePoint, Google Drive, whatever, Dropbox, you name it?
Save as C:, whack.
Yeah. Are they in Salesforce? Because sometimes they live there too, because
Yep.
that just happens. Are they with your deal desk in some place? But it does require, again, talking to these groups of people, to understand where the agreements are. Once you understand where they are, you can coalesce them into a single place to understand how they're named, because that's the bigger, that's the next thing. Do we have a standard naming convention? If we don't, then maybe we should all agree upon that.
Let me say something. Let me say, I don't know if this is controversial yet or not. It shouldn't be, but are we going to care about naming conventions in the near AI driven future?
Believe it or
I wonder
not,
if we can go over that. I don't know. Soon.
I wonder, but also, like, I'm still seeing where it matters.
Yeah. Okay.
A little bit. So, I mean, I would like to hope that we won't have to have a standard naming convention, and we won't have to force people into, a box that they don't want to be in necessarily, or that
Right.
for them to remember to do it too. There's also that
The people.
the people part. There's the people part of remembering.
Right.
Making it easy for them. I just click a button, it shoots off the contract, and I don't have to think about it, kind of thing.
Right. 90% of this is change management. All tech, including AI. It's all human change management. But we're back to to get the house in order. What you're saying, I think, very practical, pragmatic thing is you got to know where your contracts are.
Where's your data? Where is
the data?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we are seeing some fantastic tools that, of course, are now able to connect in, as long as you could point them to the systems, right? As long as they're on your C drive.
Yeah, you just have to know where the systems are. And if you've got a tool that can connect all those, even better. Like, you're not doing it manually. That's it. But it still requires the people part, which is the conversation with the stakeholders, especially if it's very disparate across multiple teams. You still have to understand what they're doing, if it's not living in one particular team.
So are you feeling any pressure? I mean, and I know your boss is fabulous, but are you feeling any pressure, even just broader from the C-suite or from the, company in general about using AI? I mean, you guys are a tech company, do you feel pressure? You feel like it's at bay? Is it balanced? Like,
I would say we sit somewhere between pressure and balance. One of our goals, as a legal team this year is to become more agentic, more AI confident as a legal team. That also means getting our own house in order. We started a lot of the work, a while back, but it's being more centralized, more thoughtful about the work, identifying, these things that we want to tackle with automation or AI. But we're really trying to take a balanced approach and think about it across the whole team and who we touch outside of the legal team, and not just to the benefit of ourselves. Yes, we hope we benefit, of course, make our lives easier, but if we can make our stakeholders' lives easier, then all the better, because then they'll sing our praises and we don't have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Gaining sponsors. That is magic. That, again, people overlook. They want the big bang. We're going to go live. If you get wins along the way, you create natural sponsors, which are the best kind. Right? You want that word of mouth around the company.
And you have to make it a team sport too. Like, everybody on your legal team has to be involved in it. It's not just legal ops that's leading it, or not this, the CLO or the GC's mandate. It is a team sport, and everybody has to be bought in, and everybody has to be working together to make it happen, because it can't just live in one place. Because if it does, it's never going to work.
That's right. Yeah. And I love, it's not just about the mandate, but having a leader who believes in it is so important, because we have seen a lot of teams that actually have a mandate to use AI, find AI, get AI, but the actual leader doesn't touch the stuff. They just want it done, and they want it fast. And you're like, well, yeah, but here's the reading of the broccoli. I had one pretty much tell me, well, that's just taking me backwards. I need to go back to our C-suite and show them how we're using AI. And I was like, your commercial team doesn't talk to your ops team.
No.
There's some internal stuff you guys might want to focus on first. They didn't like that answer. And I was like, well, people again.
It's people.
Dr. Ashley has some thoughts on the people part. Well, okay, we're down about the last 30 seconds, Ashley. So what's next for you on the horizon of your legal ops journey internally? What are you doing next? What are you tackling?
Honestly, I'm like everybody else, I'm tackling the AI stuff.
Yeah.
I want our team to feel confident about living their day to day and incorporating AI to make themselves better, to make their stakeholders better. And so that's going to be my focus, for this year and, probably beyond is, to get our team ready and do things that make an impact.
Get our team ready and do things that make an impact. That is a perfect way to close our little chat. Thank you so much, Ashley. It was a pleasure.
Me.
Go on forever. I hope to see you perhaps at an upcoming conference. Well, those are always fun to run into old friends there. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday.
You too.